Hey everybody, I wanted to make this introduction video to kind of introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me and my shop and how I've gotten to where I'm at now. I know a lot of people follow my thread on one of the machinist forums, and they enjoy my pictures, and I try to post on there often showing some of the work that I do, and I've talked a little bit about my past on there. But you know, recent months a lot of things have changed, and I moved out of our old shop, and now I'm here at, actually this is where I live, and this is my garage at home, which I have now turned into my machine shop. And just want to tell you a little bit about me. My name is Adam, and I started my career in May of 1997. I went to work with my dad, who owned the shop. My granddad started the shop in 1972, and he built it, he established it, he bought some machinery and put my dad to work. I believe my dad was 18 at the time, because my dad was working for another machine shop. My granddad was working for the Navy base at the time. He worked for NARF, and they wanted to start their own business. So my granddad started it and had my dad run it, and after a few years things got good, and they were successful. So my dad ended up buying it from my granddad, and he ran it for many years, and for many years by himself. It wasn't until I want to say maybe early to mid 90s is when he started hiring other people and had some employees. And you know, I grew up around the shop. I never really paid much attention to it. I was a kid. It really didn't have a whole lot of interest in me. I always thought what my dad did was pretty cool, but I just didn't understand it at the time. But he often had us over in the summer times, helping him clean up and hauling scrap steel to the to the scrap yard. But so I graduated in May of '97, and it was that month and year that I came to work with my dad. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I had always kind of wanted to go work for the railroads and be like a train conductor, but as it was approaching graduation time, my dad talked to me about coming to work for him, and he was telling me what kind of great opportunity it would be, and teach me how to be a machinist and what we did. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I told him, yeah, I'll come to work for you. So that's what I did. I started working for my dad before I graduated. He was real busy at the time and he needed somebody else there to help. So I quit my job. I was working on a golf course at the time, doing golf carts and stuff, but I quit that and came to work for Dad, and started off at the bottom just like most people, sweeping floors, cleaning up machines, doing a lot of heavy lifting for everybody. But they started teaching me a lot of things on what they did, what the shop actually did, what kind of work we did there, and it was all real interesting to me. I was really enjoying it. I started to have a love for the machinery and being able to use machines to cut metal and make parts, and I really started to enjoy it, and I think it just kind of came natural to me also. Dad taught me a lot of what I know. I mean, most of what I know, he taught me a lot. And we had another guy working with us at that time. His name was Sonny, and he had been in the field for a long time, and he had a lot of experience, and he was an excellent machinist. He knew a little bit about everything, and me and him got along real good. So Sonny taught me a lot. My dad taught me a lot. They taught me how to grind drill bits by hand, grind tool bits by hand, You know, when to use high-speed tools, when to use carbide tools, how to run the machines. You know, how to set the machines up to do what you want them to do. You know, like your RPMs, your feed rates, your surface feet per minute, just all that kind of stuff. They taught me a lot of that, and it just started. I caught on to it and I understood it, and with more experience, I got better and better at it. I remember right off, my dad taught me how to stick weld. He wanted me to start doing the welding. And even that kind of came natural. He showed me how to stick weld, and so I started welding. And it was, I want to say it was the following year, I actually went to our local junior college and took a few classes in welding. So that's when people ask me how I learned what I did I go to school for it? No, I didn't go to school for machining. I learned it on job training, you know, hands-on, by my dad, and growing up in our family shop. I did go to school for some welding. I did learn a lot more in welding school than I did just being in the shop, but I actually had a lot of welding already under my belt whenever I went to school, so I was kind of a little ahead of most of the people that was in there. But I never did go all the way through it into pipe welding, get certification. I didn't do that because that's not really a lot of the welding I have to do. A lot of our stuff is build-up work and building parts and structural welding and stuff like that. So, you know, I learned how to stick weld, TIG weld, and MIG weld. We used to do a lot of brazing. I've had to do a lot of brazing on parts, build-up, silver soldering, silver brazing, making our own tools. We've had to do that a lot. So, all that kind of stuff. I mean, just I picked it all up by working with my dad in our family shop, and I really started to enjoy it, and it's stuck with me ever since. And I started getting better and better at it, to where, I mean, I was eventually my dad's, you know, #1 guy. He depended on me to do everything in the shop, make sure everything was done right, and I mean, that's what I did. Because I always, once I started getting really good at it, I mean, I appreciated the making something and building it nice and building a nice looking part and making it fit right, you know, and then give it to the customer. And really, you know, the customer takes it and they really appreciate a really nice looking part whenever somebody can produce that. A lot of our work was, you know, we were a job shop, strictly job shop. We didn't do production work and engineer, nothing like that. We did a lot of job shop repair, industrial work. A lot of our customers were, you know, electric motor shops where they needed electric motor shafts repaired, build new shafts. A lot of times we had to do a lot of M-bells, a lot of pumps and pump parts, pump shafts, impellers. We've done a lot of marine work. We've built prop shafts. I've built tiller arms, connecting arms, rudders. I've repaired rudder shafts. A lot of different things, you know, with the marine industry. We've done a lot of that throughout the years. But we used to stay real busy at our shop, and I guess the economy kind of took its toll on us, you know, just like it did a lot of people. A lot of our customers were hit hard, just like we were, and the work wasn't coming in anymore. A lot of it wasn't coming anymore. It was just slowly coming in, and that was the point where it was just me and my dad, and we were kind of struggling to survive there. Luckily, we didn't really have a lot of overhead, but it was still, you know, you want to make enough money to be able to pay your bills and put food on the table, have a couple extra dollars in your pocket. But things were getting tough for us, and so it was back in 2009. I was approached by another company that we did a lot of work for many years. You know, Dad used to do a lot of work for him, and then I started doing work for him. But they had a shop. They have a shop, and they approached me because they needed a machinist. And I had done their work for many years, and they knew my work. They knew I was kind of an all-around guy, could weld and build and do machine work. So they approached me and offered me a job there, and I talked to my dad about it, and he told me that he felt I should take that job because of how things were going in the shop. So I talked to him and told him what I had to have, and we worked things out, and they hired me. So since '09, I've been working for that other company now, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. We got a nice shop. I'm the only machinist. I have a lot of responsibility there. I do a lot of work with what we do there. And after I started working for there, I was still running the family shop part-time in the evenings and weekends, and I did that for 2.5 years, just constant, running 2 jobs, you know, working 2 jobs and working real late. And it was shortly after that my dad had some heart problems and some complications, and he had to go to the hospital. And it was after that he decided he wanted to retire, that he was done. He didn't want to go out there and work anymore. So he basically handed the shop over to me and said, if you want it, you can run it. And that's what I did. I did that for a couple years. I ran the shop by myself. He'd come out and help me whenever I needed help. When I needed somebody, you know, out there to help me with things, put things in the machines. But so he retired, and I guess it was about a year, maybe about a year and a half ago now, you know, he told me that he wanted to go ahead and move on somewhere else. He's ready to move to another location, something smaller, maybe a little bit newer. And I've been getting pretty tired and wore out from working so much. Even though I love my job and I love our shop, I was getting a little tired also. So we talked about downsizing our shop, selling off some of the machinery, and then me bringing some of the machinery home to my shop here. So that's what we ended up doing. We sold some of the machines off. Where I work now full time, they actually bought some of the machinery. Like we got a big horizontal boring mill. They bought that, one of our milling machines, and a couple of the other ones, and we moved them down there. And then I started moving all the rest of it here. And so this is where I'm at now. This has been a long work in progress. I had to have 3-phase power installed on the shop here. I had to build a whole new electrical service for all the machines and the 3-phase power. And it was a lot of work, and it took me a while to get it all done, but I finally got it done. Got all the machines moved in here that we kept, and a lot of the tooling. I still have a lot of tools. All of our toolboxes. That I had to move all that stuff down here, and it was quite a challenge. We're going from a 3,000 square foot shop to a 1,000 square foot shop. So it was a real challenge getting things in here and trying to get them positioned to where I could get to everything and get the machines laid out to where they were easy to work around, and being able to put long shafts in the lathes, because that's what I was used to doing, always having to put long bar stock in there. So I tried to get everything positioned to where it was in a nice work area and still have room for all the tooling and the toolboxes and all the smaller support machines and things like that. So I've about got it all done. I've still got a few more things that I've got to move in here, just some small stuff. I've got a couple more. I got another pedestal grinder. I've got a drill grinder I got to bring in. I got a whole pallet full of drill bits and reamers, carbide tip drills, things like that, shell reamers that I've got to put somewhere, and I really don't even have room for it. I've got a bin down at the old shop that all that stuff was in, but I've got to try to figure out a spot in here that I can set it and put all that stuff back in there, and I just haven't gotten that far yet. I pretty much got everything positioned the way that I want. I just finished that this weekend. I had to get the welding table and the big drill press moved around. The big drill press is the only thing that's not hooked up yet because I didn't know where I was going to put it. I'm just going to have to, I got it in position now, and I just got to spend some time and get that wired in eventually. And the only other thing left that I got to do is I got to run a water line out here and get a line over to my big welder for my TIG torch because it's a water cooled unit. I haven't got that done yet, but that's not a big deal. I'll get it, I'll work on it soon. But I finally got everything going. I got power, and I've got a little bit of work already. I've had several of my customers constantly ask me throughout the year when I'm gonna start doing work again, and I kept telling them I'll let them know I'm working on things, and it was kind of a nice little break from not having to work so much. And now that we've actually downsized, I don't have the capacity that we once did at our old shop. You know, we used to have a big Monarch lathe that would swing 30 inches and had 12-foot centers, and we did a lot of work in that lathe. But I tried to get my current employer to buy it, and they wouldn't go for it. So we ended up having to let that go, and that actually went to another customer of ours that they do machine work, and they wanted that lathe, so we sold it to them. Sold off some of the old milling machines. We had a couple old horizontal mills that we sold off, and then, like I said, some of them went to my other job, and then the rest of them are here. And this is what we got left, and this is all stuff that my dad bought. Some of my granddad bought. There's a couple machines here that my granddad brought in the shop years and years ago, and the rest of it, you know, stuff that well, a lot of the tooling is also stuff that my granddad had brought in. He worked at the Navy base, and they used to have a lot of auctions out there, and he was a machinist for them out there, and he bought a lot of our tooling that was surplus and brought it home, and that's kind of how he tooled up our shop. And then my dad added to it over the years, adding more machinery and some newer stuff. And but this is where we're at now. This is my new home shop. I will still continue to do work for customers. It's going to be on a smaller scale. There's things I obviously cannot handle. I don't have really any kind of lifting equipment in here. It's a, you know, what would be ideal is if I had a you know, a small little jib crane in here, but I've got low ceilings, so I've got a cherry picker that I can use if I do need to pick up something heavy and put in the machines. But I think I kind of covered everything. I think I did, but I wanted to, like I said, kind of introduce who I was, give you a little bit of story about our shop, and show you what we got here now. So what I'm going to do is just do a little walkthrough with the camera here, show you the machines and some of the stuff that we got and how I got it laid out, and show you what I got to work with. And keep in mind, I've still got work to do. I don't have everything in position. I've got a whole, you know, workbench here full of boxes and tools and stuff that I really don't have anywhere else to put. So I've got everything kind of somewhat organized right here. So what we'll do, you can see the shop there. I'll start up here in the front. That's my new, there's the you know, the new service right there. I had to build this. That's a new three-phase service that we just built and had hooked in. And there's the welding machines. The big welder, like I said, I've still got to hook run a water line over here for that, for the TIG torch. There's the MIG welder. I do have a spool gun with this one too. I can do some aluminum welding with that. This corner over here isn't really quite finished yet, but I'm working on it. I've got another grinder with a wire wheel on it that I'm going to bring in. It's probably going to go over here. I've got the Powermatic drill press there. That's kind of just in limbo because I haven't really found a good spot for it yet, but it might end up right here somewhere in this corner. I'm just not sure yet, but that's easy to move. There's that's the welding table. All kind of, that's all of our tooling underneath, our hammers and wrenches, all kinds of stuff. There's a mag drill. There's a Greener number 3 arbor press. I got another smaller Famco arbor press there, and this is something we really don't ever use, but we've got a Marvel shear. Comes in handy every now and then if you got to cut up some shim stock or something like that. That's the Bickford drill press that I told you I haven't hooked up yet. I've still got to get the conduit run over and hook that up. But I just moved that to this location this weekend, and I believe that's where it's going to go. I haven't even taken it off the 1-inch shafts down there yet, just in case I need to move it around a little bit more. Just my workbench here with a lot of the tools in the boxes down there. That's a whole bunch of mics and depth mics and inside mics and things like that all stacked up. That stuff that we had at our old shop that we just don't use very much. They might come in handy every now and then, but some of that stuff was probably I'm gonna end up selling a lot of that. You know, I've got mics down here that go 16, 17. I believe this is a 12 to 16 Starrett set here. This is a 12 to 18 Michitoya set there, and some other individual mics there. Just a lot of different things that we've got, that we've accumulated is all right there. There's a little Jefferson power hacksaw that I bought a while back. That it was just something neat that some guy had for sale on Craigslist locally, and I picked it up. That's the one thing that I'm actually missing in here. I need to get a bandsaw. We did have a big do-all bandsaw, but I knew I wouldn't have room for it here, so we actually sold that, and I'm just going to keep my eyes out for another smaller bandsaw. Got some more of my toolboxes up here, just different things. This is the do-all milling machine. This is one that my dad bought brand new, I believe in '87. He bought it and the bandsaw, I think, a year apart. I don't remember which one was first, but he did buy that new, and it was used very little because they always use the bigger milling machines. So this is actually a real good shape mill, and it'll serve me good in here. All this stuff here is just other tooling for the milling machines. The parallels and V blocks and all kinds of cutters, angle plates. There's a big magnetic chuck there that we acquired for a job that we had to do, and I think we used it 2 or 3 times. Some of my bigger parallels right there. This is something that we built a while back that came in real handy for the mill. It's just a piece of pipe, with a flange welded on it, and I made some collars and some shelves out of some thick steel plate, and you can actually rotate these if you want to, but you can move the table down and over and slide that super spacer off onto the mill. Makes it a lot easier because that's a heavy joker. The vise isn't too bad to handle. I can kind of pick that up and move it around, but that, especially with my limited space, that just came in real handy to have and keep some of my accessories over out of the way, but still close to the mill. These bins here is just all my different cutters, end mills, taps, tool bits, just all kind of different machine shop cutters, and I've got them all organized now since I moved them down here. I mean, you can kind of see I've got, starting with small end mills, you know, and I go all the way up to 1.5 inches. A whole thing of roughing mills. There's metric mills, pipe taps, tool bits. There's a bunch of milling machine cutters there. Just a lot of different stuff, and it's nice having them organized now. Just like left-handed taps. You know, I got that one there. Got all kind of left-hand taps. I got them all in one spot now. This is the Shelton Shaper that I acquired not too long ago. I want to say maybe a year or so ago. And it's just a neat little machine. I never had a shaper and always wanted one, and I found this one locally, and it actually belonged to Gil. Gil, I know you're going to see this. So me and him kind of became buddies, and we talk a lot about machine shops and show each other pictures of things we're working on. But this is one that he had, and I wanted it, so me and him worked out a deal, and now it's at my shop. I still got to learn how to use it. I know how to use it, but I haven't really used the shaper. So I like to watch videos online of different work people's done with shapers, and I find it very intriguing, and I want to learn how to use this machine more efficiently, be able to do some different things with it. I'll back up over here. This is the Victor 1660 lathe. This is one that my dad bought. I want to say it was the mid-80s he bought this, and I think he said it was a bank repo. The bank that he was banking at called him and told him they had a piece of machinery that they had repossessed, and wanted him to come and look at it, see if he was interested. He went and looked at it and made him an offer, and they sold it to him. And it's been a good lathe. I know it needs a little cleaning. I haven't done any of that yet, but it's a good lathe, easy to run. It does a lot of our work. Some more toolboxes. This cabinet right here is slap full of more cutters and just all kind of different tools that we use. I got that from an estate sale, and it worked out real nice. I like it. It's nice, heavy duty. I've got it full of cutters, all kinds of different things. There's a bunch of end mills. Just some more various tools. There's some insert tools there. Some more inserts. There's some more end mills and helicoil kits. There's some of my broaches. I started organizing those. I'm going to put them all in here. This is all metric broaches and plugs. There's a bunch of my files. And it just goes on. This is my dad's old toolbox. It's one that we use for a lot of things. It's slap full of all kind of stuff. Different turning holders and boring bars of all shapes and sizes. There's the mic drawer, which I recently cleaned out. It used to not look like this. I've been trying to do a lot of organizing since I moved down here, and I got rid of a lot of stuff that was in this drawer and put it in other toolboxes to try to organize a little bit better. Bunch of expanding mandrels and different jigs and things that's been built over the years to hold parts in the lathe. All this stuff right here was just things that was already here before I turned it into a machine shop, some of my tools, so they just kind of staying right there. This is our big pedestal grinder made by Queen City. I mean, that's what we've always considered as the Queen City grinder. This is one of the machines that my granddad bought when they first opened up our shop in '72. I believe it came from somewhere up in Indiana, and it still works good. These are some new wheels, some new rocks that I put on here probably about 2 years ago. That's a nice heavy duty grinder to use. We use it for grinding all of our tool bits and grinding drills, that kind of stuff. More toolboxes down there. I know it's a mess. I've actually been doing a little bit of work and I haven't swept up everything yet. But that's some of my materials that I've kept and brought down here and somewhat organized under the shelf here. I've still got more material to get. I just don't have nowhere to put it. Here's the Monarch lathe. This is an 18 CY. This is a lathe that my granddad bought, and it's always been a real good machine. I think he bought it from somebody in Mobile. And whenever we decided to downsize, I asked Dad about, let's just keep this one so I'd have a little bit bigger capacity than the Victor there. But Monarch's an excellent machine, and anybody that's ever run them knows how well they are and how heavy duty they are. It's just an extremely rigid machine. You can take some really heavy cuts with it, and it's accurate. It's just a fine lathe, and I enjoy having it. If you notice, we've got the multi-fix tool post and tool holders. I've actually got them on both lathes. There's some of my chucks and centers and die heads and all kind of different things right there. This was my granddad's old toolbox that he gave to me, but it's full of all the stuff that we use. I actually find it interesting that if you can read that says J.A. Booth. That was my granddad's name on the box, but that's the same name, that's my initials also. So I really enjoy having that toolbox. But it's, like I said, it's full of all the stuff that we use. It's another toolbox that's full of stuff. There's our, dies. There's a bunch of hex dies. I've got taps there. Just some more tools there. Well, let me get back so you can see a little better. This is the blast cabinet made by Trinco, or Trinco, however you want to say it. And that's always been a fine addition to the shop. It's nice having a blast cabinet whenever you want to clean something up, or you got parts that are just corroded and filthy, and you throw it in there, you bead blast it, get everything down to bare metal. It's really nice having that in the machine shop whenever when you've got stuff coming in that's filthy and dirty and rusty. Instead of having those nasty parts to work on, you clean them and then you put them in here, blast them, get them down to bare metal, and you got some nice stuff to work with. Plus, it's also handy to have if you're just wanting to clean some of your own stuff up, if you're doing some restoration work. It's a nice thing to have. This is just another shelf with some of the other tooling for the milling machine. Some boring heads, the collets, drill chucks. That's the, underneath there is a Kemp Smith dividing head with the tailstock. So I can cut some gears if I need to. I've got all the cutters for it. It's been a long time since I've had to, but I can if I need. And that's about it. I think I just about covered everything. It's actually raining outside. One of the machines that I didn't tell you, you can kind of look out the window there. That's a Date press, 50-ton press out there that I actually built that frame for. That's not the original frame. The one that it came with was a lot smaller than that, and we needed something bigger, so we actually copied the original frame, and I made one bigger. Let me see if I can get a little better. But that's it there. I got some of my tools sitting out there I forgot about. And this right here underneath the tarp, that's the air compressor. That's an Ingersoll Rand T60 air compressor. Now, I got it covered up because we got a little rain outside. I haven't got to my next project yet, which is building a carport on the new slab. I'll go ahead and walk out here and get a shot of it. The slab that I had poured, I had it poured last spring, and I'm going to build a cover out here, and this will give me a lot more area to keep some things under and a little more work area. But that's the air compressor and the press in the back there. Well, that's it. that's the shop. This is where I spend my evenings and weekends. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned a little bit more about me, and kind of understand some of what I do out here now. So, see you later.